Yes. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Carton Show. Somehow, some way, we've made it to Wednesday. In Hebrew, we call that miraculous. That's a new word for you today. This guy right here is David Jacoby. This handsome fellow right here, Mr. Biggs, is Super Bowl champion Willie Colon. We are 24 hours away from the start of another week of NFL football and 4 days away from the biggest game of the year. Let's get cooking with Wednesday morning headlines. Brock Purdy's playing in a big game in Philadelphia again. The last time he was there, the Eagles attacked him and killed him. And thank God he came back to life. But Deebo Samuel now says, look, no added pressure on Brock Purdy. He also happens to be the calmest player I've ever played football with. And we've seen this kid a lot.
Yeah.
And that's fair when we're talking about a young player who doesn't have 30 starts in his career, who goes into these hostile territories and is cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, 100%. He is cool. But most quarterbacks this time of year that we consider elite quarterbacks are calm under pressure. The bottom line, this game coming up Sunday will define them. Right, and that's
big legacy game for this part of his career. Yeah.
The last time we seen him on this field, he got knocked out of the game, and they're on go to Philadelphia Eagles. So this is a game where this should be a get back game for him. If I'm him, there's no more talk about who he is and what he can do on the field. You beat the Philadelphia Eagles at home, you're him.
Yeah, look, they've won 3 games in a row after the losing streak. Yep. He's been a big part of that. He's playing great. Getting Deebo Samuel back, significant. Getting Trent Williams back, maybe even more significant to protect the left side, his backside.
Yep.
But this is the game, man. I can't wait for this game. And again, I've put it out there. San Francisco wins this game. It's the lock of the millennium. We can get more into that in a little bit.
You don't really believe that.
I know that
every time
Philadelphia.
He says it every day, all day. I think he believes it.
You're saying it, but you're like,
By the way,
the line keeps going up, Greg.
In the short history of this show, I've never been wrong about that type of statement. And if you look at the point spread, it is now 3 and rising. So for all the people out there that are questioning how I could possibly pick San Francisco to win this game, America, shockingly, is picking San Francisco to win this game. Now, there'll be some late Philly money that comes in, so I don't know if it'll get much higher than 3, but I can't wait for it because I want to see what happens when a healthy Niner team across the board goes into that dump and takes care of business because you talk about boo-hooing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear the Eagles blaming the refs, blaming the field, blaming San Francisco and the homeless problem there, and a lot of other things that they're going to blame when they lose to the Niners. I can't wait. It's going to be great. And I see you on Instagram, Philly fans.
Yeah, they looking for you, Craig.
Most sensitive bunch of bitches I've ever seen in my entire life. I come out there and say Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. I hear crickets. I say San Fran's going to beat you. All of a sudden, I'm Stalin. Okay, great. Headline number 2. Let's relax here for a minute. It's only Wednesday. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones. Look at my guy. Ferguson's open. Throw him the ball.
Okay.
Jerry Jones said Dak Prescott's playing the best football of his career. We all agree with that. But there's a caveat and a little asterisk that should be added to that sentence. When you get to play the worst teams in the NFL week after week, you better play your best football. So you got knocked him there
for doing his job, and he's doing his job at a high level. He's throwing the ball down the field, completing dimes to every receiver on his roster. Is that what you're mad at?
No, I'm not knocking him off. I'm the only guy outside of Skip on this network that says nice things about Dak Prescott.
I say nice things all the time. I never doubted that. You got mad because he impregnated his girlfriend. You said the season was over. You said the season was over and it was a distraction.
I'm concerned about it because it's an obvious distraction. Your first-time pregnancy, that's a lot.
My coffee ain't kicking yet.
In any event, look, the deal is this. We all know the deal. When you play bad teams, you better play the best of your career. He has another game which he's a 9-point favorite against Seattle this weekend. And then it's on like Donkey Kong. He gets real after the Seattle game. And, of course, we'll get into all those games coming up. One more headline for you. Kansas City, Miami, Tyreek Hill. They don't play each other, of course, because they already did that. And Kansas City won 21-14. But Tyreek says, look, I've seen it up close. And let me tell you a little secret. This Dolphin team is better than my Super Bowl championship team in Kansas. Shut your mouth.
What do you want to say? My new girlfriend
exactly.
is hotter than my old girlfriend. He has to say that.
Yeah.
What do you
My
want to
ex-girlfriend
say?
was actually hotter and nicer.
Can't
I
he
liked
say
her
my
more.
old girlfriend was hotter, but the new one's got a better personality?
No, of
you
course
can't
not.
say that either.
Now, with both quarterbacks are possibly MVPs, one can get MVP.
Yeah, I will say this about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is loyal to whoever his quarterback is.
Rightfully
because
so.
before he even took a snap in a real game from Tua a year ago, he came out and said famously, he's the most accurate quarterback I've ever played with. And he had only played with the best quarterback in the league in Patty Mahomes. So I do appreciate loyalty to the guy that's slinging you the rock.
Correct. I mean, but at the end of the day, he understands Tua is on a heater. They need to continue to win, especially in the month of December. And how they measured, listen, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. So the bottom line is he still loves his team.
Let me also just say, when I say slinging the rock, no offense to growing up in the Bronx. I didn't mean that at all.
Now it's an urban thing.
In any event, I just wanted to make sure you didn't feel.
I don't know how we got there.
I don't want you to feel some kind of way. It's early. It's Wednesday. I've already accidentally spilled an entire cup of hot chocolate on the wall of my office. I'm having a tough day. I'm not going to lie about it.
Wednesday.
All right, coming up, crazy news in that San Fran-Philly game. Something that has not happened since the merger in the NFL between the AFL and the NFL, and it's happening this weekend between San Francisco and Philly. What is it? Find out right after this. All right, of course, the game of the week is coming up. San Francisco at Philadelphia. This guy's played in a lot of big games. Yeah, only won one Super Bowl, though. But that's Green Bay Packer Hall of Famer, wide receiver, Mr. Greg Jennings. Great to have here on the dock. We've got an offensive lineman who won a Super Bowl. We got a prima donna wide receiver who won a Super Bowl. I've got a couple guys who've watched a lot of Super Bowls. So we have really, I think, every angle covered of the sport of football.
We do.
Hey, meanwhile, speaking of gambling, something's happening in the San Francisco-Philly game that with a starting quarterback playing, because that's the caveat to it, has never happened going back at least to 1970. So the year after the merger, right? Super Bowl III, Jets, Colts, all that stuff. And that is the fact that you have a 10-1 or better team as a home underdog. And the spread's going up, it's not coming down, which is really interesting. I know in Philadelphia they're taking that as a sign of disrespect, which makes me question you guys. How aware are players in the locker room about what a spread is? And has a coach ever come to you guys and tried to use the spread as a motivational tool?
We are aware because it's brought to our attention. Like going into a week, we clearly know if we're favored or if we're underdogs. I don't think guys really truly care.
Right.
The fact that the questions are going to be posed every single time you stand at your locker. Hey, this team coming in is a heavy favorite, or you guys aren't favored in this game. What's your mindset? What's your approach with that? That's how players.
A coach wouldn't come in and go, "You're being disrespected. You're 10-1, and America thinks you're going to lose. Are you going to stand for that soldier?" That kind of thing.
They do to an extent. Like if you're heavy underdogs, like I'm sure Sirianni is telling these guys, he's telling them all of those things, right?
Right.
But when you're favored, all coaches, they don't talk about, we're favored in this game. We got to make sure we live up to that.
You got to cover.
No, you say, guys, don't read the clippings. We don't care about what they think about us, all that type.
No, we never talked about it, honestly. Yeah, we always prided ourselves, wherever we was at, we was going to get the job done. I think Mike Tomlin's angle was always like, hey, it's a primetime matchup because we're in it, right? So we live
if we're playing, it's a big game.
Right, so live up to that standard. We never, counted the books, whatever. If anything, they wanted to stay far away from even thinking anything like that.
Yeah, it's weird because it's obviously showing a great deal of respect to San Francisco, and they deserve it. They're obviously a great football team. But from a Philly standpoint, I think it's good for Philly because it allows Philly to continue this mantra of, us against the world. Or I've even seen some merchandise the Eagles put out over the last year, to be fair, going back to last year. And it's something along the lines of, everybody hates us and we don't care kind of thing. So it's like really us against the world. And to be a 10-1 team at home and you're underdog, like if you told me the game is in San Francisco, I kind of get it. San Fran is a legitimate, Super Bowl contender in their own building, cross-country travel, winners of 3 in a row, whatever it might be. But for them to be favored and for the number to have gone up, not down, meaning Philadelphians haven't bet yet, obviously, on this game, is really interesting to me and says a lot about my position in this game, which is I think San Francisco happens to be the better football team. Not record-wise. I can't win the argument record-wise.
Do you feel like that's because of injuries?
I think the fact that Chase Young is now on that team, when you look at the one game the Eagles lost and the other games that they struggled in to win, although they did win them, it's against teams that have really solid front fours, teams that can get to your quarterback without having to bring everybody to come get to him. That's how the Jets beat them, right? That's how other teams have given them problems. So to me, San Fran has that. They don't need to blitz. They've got the front four to do it.
Yeah, but I also think that was during a time where there was a lot of questions about Jalen Hurts' knee, right? We talked about him hobbling in that Redskins game. Even in the Jets game, he was gimpy at times. Now you put on the tape the last 3 games, he's running with the football. They actually have design runs with him.
Sure.
So I think that opens up the offense. Now, there's cause some concern because they don't have Dallas Goedert, who was pretty much a
big part of their offense.
Big part of their offense. So I can see where you're at with that. But overall, man, I think this team is battle hungry. I think they're going to probably be more juiced up than they have been solely because it's the 49ers coming to town. And when you have Hassan Reddick talking all this, verbiage of, hey, bring your butts out here, we want all the smoke, that does something to that defense because they have to show up. They know who the San Francisco 49ers are on offense.
It's also not that the Cowboys aren't a big game. It's a big game, the following week. But, this is the last legitimate test on their schedule. Right? Now, whether they lose the game down the stretch, maybe they do lose, maybe they don't. But this is the game that I think everyone will acknowledge. The winner of this game, gets to pound their chest. Yeah. They're at the top of the mountain, and it'd be hard to argue that, right?
You said this is the last.
There's other tests, like they have the Cowboys coming up, but this is the game. If they get past in San Fran and Philly beats San Francisco,
Cowboys are there.
Cowboys are the only other team they're going to worry about.
Yeah, you're right.
And by the way, they could lose that game and has no impact on being the number 1 seed. That's how big this game is.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, when I think about this game and you think about the San Francisco 49ers, and I said this I think earlier in the week, they tend to dictate the terms in which you play. And that's that physical brand of football where they're going to punch you in the mouth, and you get that a lot in the AFC North. But in the NFC, you only have a select few teams. These 2 teams happen to be on that list, short list. And so when you look at this matchup, it is disrespectful. The fact that Philly has been able to find ways to win, even though they haven't been extremely sexy. When you look at the 49ers, when they win with fashion. Yeah. They win in style.
Double-digit beatdowns.
Absolutely.
That's what warm weather does to you, though.
And that's why when I've talked about the A.J. Browns and him chasing 2K and all the things, the weather matters. Because you have to be able to adapt to a different style of football. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles can do. They can beat you in the running game. They can beat you in the passing game. But once the weather starts to change in December, early December, late December, early January, you got to be able to do it all. And that's what this team provides.
I think part of this line going this way and part of this sort of the public's doubt of the Eagles is what we saw last week against the Bills. We all talk about the field goal at the end and the Jalen Hurts drive in the overtime. We don't talk about the first half where they were bottled up, where Jalen Hurts couldn't get outside the pocket.
They were 4 for 11.
They couldn't do anything in that first half.
Well, they act like they didn't run the ball. They weren't a good
They didn't run the ball at all.
They didn't even attempt.
All of a sudden, DeAndre Swift successfully running it changed the whole dimension of that second half. And listen, I'm not a geologist, but it ain't warm in San Francisco this time of year.
But it's sunny.
Putting it out
compared to Philly weather, compared to San Fran weather.
But listen, it ain't 80. I can tell you that.
I'm not a geographist either.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I don't know what that is, but I can tell you what, it ain't warm. I don't go there on vacation in February. I can tell you that right now. By the way, speaking of football, Zach Wilson's in the news today.
Why?
What?
And you might say, well, why?
Are we doing Jets?
We're not doing Jets. I promise you that. Zach Wilson's got some competition, my friends. Zach Wilson's got some competition.
Oh, no.
And I don't mean Trevor Siemian, and I don't mean TB8, Timmy Boyle, or whatever number he wears. 7, right?
Right.
He's got some competition from a guy named Corey Perry. Who's Corey Perry, you ask? Well, very quickly, Corey Perry is a borderline Hall of Fame hockey player, NHL, who up until yesterday was playing for the Chicago Blackhawks, right? He got kicked off the squad, quote unquote, for unacceptable behavior. What is that behavior? Well, as the story goes, the allegations are that he was sleeping with rookie phenom Connor Bedard's mama.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that the mom?
Up? Yeah, that's right. She's a very attractive woman.
She's
You
hot.
understand the attraction there. I'm not sure if Mr. Bedard's in the picture. Connor Bedard is what a lot of people in hockey think is the second coming of Wayne Gretzky. Young phenom that they're building the franchise around. And apparently his mom likes the old heads.
Right.
Again,
what that old thing
merely allegations at this point, but there's no other story as to why. The really weird thing is that there are pictures of the three of them together. That's a tough look for Thanksgiving.
So moms are off limit? I mean, moms got to eat too.
Let me ask you a question.
What up?
Have you ever played on a team where one guy was with another guy's mom?
No, slept with the coach's wife.
Oh, really? Got a story to tell?
Did that break up the locker room?
What happened?
No, but the guy got fired.
Which guy, the player or the coach?
Player.
The player got kicked off the team for sleeping with the coach's wife.
Researcher Troy, can you do that,
This
please?
is coach's wife.
Get on that, Researcher Troy. We got a researcher for a reason, Willie. We got a researcher for a reason.
I'm not saying you told me you didn't.
Right.
So you're saying
I think it's public. At least now.
We're going to find out.
Now it is. It was the position coach's wife, meaning a running back, if it were a running back, slept with the running back coach's wife.
Yeah.
Wow. How about in Green Bay? Who did Brett Favre sleep with?
We know you like the Sixers.
Come on.
Yeah, no, we didn't have any of that.
Yeah. I mean, it happened. I didn't sleep with her.
Man. All right.
Anyhow, Chicago's got a lot of problems on their hands.
I've never been more excited for the researcher Troy to dig up some information in the history of this show.
Oh, my goodness. Who was it?
I can't say it right now. Hot mic.
We're going to find out.
All right, we got much more coming your way. First in football, we got some Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll defending Dak and acknowledging that it's going to be very hard to sleep with his wife. I'm sorry. I totally got that's not what it says here at all. But we'll get into it. Right. Well, he's not married, so he could. All right, welcome back to the Carton Show. We got a bunch of football stuff coming your way in just 1 second, but Jacoby's got an itch he needs to scratch, and that is why the New York Knicks tried to win by 40 last night in a game that otherwise had no real meaning, but it did have meaning because of the amazing in-season tournament that the NBA has created. So scratch away, sir.
Last night was the end of the in-season tournament. I got some good, some bad, some ugly from there. The good part, it was sort of playoff intensity basketball in the middle of November. That part I was really surprised by. Everyone was trying hard. It was unlike normal November regular season games. That was the good part. Enjoyed it. Bad part, I had no idea what was happening in terms of scenarios. They literally explained to me at one point that was a scenario of who gets in and who gets out. You had to win by 12. If this team lost, if that team lost, it made no sense. I had no idea what I was really watching, what the implications were. And then there was the ugly part. In the Celtics-Bulls game, because they had to win by a lot, they went to Hack-a-Drummond up by 30. They're intentionally fouling Andre Drummond up by 30 to run up the score.
Great.
And I just cannot watch that part. I enjoy the in-season tournament. Gonna need some tweaks for next year, though.
No, I think this is what's great about it. Here's a 32-point game that they still give a rat's ass about, and they're trying to, play in a manner that gets them into the tournament. So for everybody that thinks that they don't care about advancing in this tournament, there's proof positive that they do care. Like the Knicks last night had to win by a certain amount to get into the Final Eight. So I think it's great. I do think once the public understands it better, they will fall in love with it, because there was a 30-point blowout that had some meaning late. And the fact that they're hacking a hack, I love that.
You watch a lot of basketball. The players were definitely trying harder last night than regular
which means it matters to them. Why does it matter? Because if you win, you get a $500,000 check. I don't care how much money you make. $500,000 is a lot.
How many times do you see head coaches have to discuss, like, hey, look, this is why we're doing this and we're up 30?
One of the announcers last night was like, Eric Spoelstra said, we have to play these games anyway. Let's play them in Las Vegas. The players are like, I like that. I like that.
All right. Anyway, they did get to the Final Eight, and more on that coming up, I'm sure. But back to football we go. It's first in football. A little Seattle-Dallas chatter. Good.
Seattle-Dallas is tomorrow night. In advance of that game, Pete Carroll, obviously the Seahawks head coach, spoke about the preparation for that man, Dak Prescott. Here he is.
I think his movement, his subtle movement, and his ability to get out and go has really made that work together and really made it come together. So it's very difficult. It's a very difficult task because he has been so efficient at everything he's doing for some time now. So it's a big challenge for us.
So, Craig, Dak has been dominant last few weeks. Do you expect him to continue to be dominant against the Seahawks?
My only concern is that we're already talking about the game against Philly the next week. And this is, by definition, a trap game. Coming off a divisional win, a divisional opponent on the horizon, Seattle off a loss. It's got all the makings of a letdown. That being said, the Cardinal game's got to stick out to the Cowboys as a thorn in their side because it was a very similar situation, undefeated a couple weeks into the season. You outscored your first two opponents by 90 points, whatever it was. The Cardinals stink. They don't have, we didn't know at the time, a real quarterback. What's going to happen? And they got snake bit in that game. That's the only reason why I think they might avoid this being a trap game scenario. Favored by 9, it'll go up to 10 by game time against Seattle. And then we get the game we want, which is them against the Eagles. The other side of it is the way Dak has played and the fact that during these recent blowouts that they've had, again, against bad teams, all of a sudden, wide receiver number 2 is involved. Wide receiver 3 is involved. The only thing they really haven't done extraordinarily well is run the ball consistently. And maybe that's because they didn't have to, so they decided to give Pollard and the other guys a bit of a break. But I just think that the way Dak is playing right now, I could see being closer than the last couple games. But they're just a better football team on both sides of the ball than Seattle is. So I do think it's another win.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons they're not running the ball because Dak is pretty much throwing the hell out the football. He's 20 for 30 on deep throws, and you're talking about 565 yards, talking about no interceptions, 6 touchdowns. He's been money, 2 interceptions in the last 6 games. And on top of that, Dallas Cowboys have won 13 in a row at home. So there's just a dominant team at home. So you talk about the Seattle Seahawks, they're more worried about being able to come out that building alive, right? Because Dallas pretty much kicks butt, and they get you off the field early. So I don't think there's a worry with Seattle. I think the Cowboys are looking ahead to Philly.
How are you not?
And I be honest, if I was a ball player, I would
Because
too.
remember this. I know you want to jump in here, Craig, but just remember this. This is important. You know, what happens at 4 o'clock on Fox, by the way, between San Francisco and Philly, is going to dictate the level of importance of the Philly-Dallas game from this standpoint. If Philly beats San Francisco, that game the following week has 0 meaning because Dallas can't catch the Eagles because of their schedule and get the number 1 seed and win the division. If, however, San Francisco as the favorite beats Philadelphia, then Dallas-Philly is for first place, meaning you're either the 1 seed, all due respect to San Francisco, who's still in that conversation, or you're the 5 seed. You can't be 2, you can't be 3, you can't be 4. That's how big a game that becomes.
Yeah, this game has big implications, but when you look at the Dallas Cowboys and why they've been down, why Pete Carroll is saying what he's saying about Dak Prescott, it's their overall approach. Like at the beginning, entering the season, there was a lot of question about can Dak not turn the ball over. They were being reliant on their defense to really win them games to start the season. And I felt, and I said this earlier in the season,
we all said it.
where I thought the mindset of the Dallas Cowboys was when they even got into the red zone, which they were struggling earlier in the season, it was we got to get points. Now you see a team that feels like we're going to score touchdowns every time we touch the ball.
Which is a big difference.
It's a completely different mindset when you step on the field. And that's why you're seeing so many other guys being involved in what they're doing. The timing. I don't know if you guys remember the article over the offseason when they were talking about, the timing between Dak and the receivers and trying to take some of the ownership off of Dak. Well, they've been on time. Everything has been exactly how they wanted it to be. It would be interesting to see this week if they slip up. I don't believe that they will, and I don't believe that this is even a game that they're looking beyond because they know they have to keep the pressure on Philly on Sunday. If they lose, there's no pressure on Philly.
No, it's off. And, one other note. I should mention this, right? And that is, while we're all talking about Philly and Dallas for the 1 seed, San Francisco holds the edge over the Cowboys because they beat them 42-10.
And they will hold the edge over.
And if San Francisco beats Philly this weekend, they have both tiebreakers.
Great point.
Meaning that you really wind up playing for the number 2 seed, meaning you have a home playoff game the first week of the playoffs because if San Fran beats Philly, if the Eagles just get one more loss on their schedule and wind up tied with San Francisco, it's the Niners that stay home the entire run through the playoffs, which is obviously a big difference as we've discussed a million times. So it's a 3-team battle, and I'd say that with no disrespect to the Detroit Lions. they've proven the last couple of weeks they're not going to be the number 1 seed. But you have 3 other teams that can lay claim to it, and the Cowboys are one of them.
And it's much more precarious than it looks when you look at that graphic.
Yeah, because we're forgetting that San Francisco, if they beat Philly, they own all the tiebreakers because of the head-to-head matchups.
Right. Yep.
That's what I'm here for. It's like football, what do you call it? PhD? Is it a PhD level class we're teaching now? Oh, look at this film. I circled the guy for you there.
That's Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
We all remember this clip from Sunday. He doesn't try. Now, Willie, you played for the Steelers.
I did.
I want you to listen to Mike Tomlin.
Sure.
And then you translate Tomlin to English afterwards.
Gotcha.
Okay. Go ahead.
Deontay can't let the emotions of the previous down affect his next down. But I'll give him an opportunity to address that with you guys. I'll give him an opportunity to address that with his teammates. I'm not going to add any additional color. It's something that he needs to answer for, and so I'll give him an opportunity to do that. His teammates will give him an opportunity to do that, and I won't provide any color until he does.
So what does that mean, Willie?
I love that.
Which means is that Mike Tomlin probably on Wednesday goes, Deontay Johnson, stand in front of your team, and what is this? He's going to allow Deontay Johnson to speak on what happened. He's not going to speak for Deontay Johnson. And Mike Tomlin, if you ever heard him talk, he'll tell you firsthand, your tape is your walking, breathing resume. So this is on tape. This is who you are as a ball player. Mind you, you have guys right now, Cameron Hayward, who fought his tail off the table out of groin surgery to be back on the field. Multiple guys have fought themselves off the training table to be back on the field. This is a team fighting for a playoff berth, and that's what you're doing. And you also got to understand, this is, and Greg maybe can attest to this, this is why you have to find a way to keep veteran guys in the locker room. Because guys like T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, Allen Robinson, Mickey Fitzpatrick, they now go to him and say, is this what we're doing? If this is what we're doing, we don't need you here. Because those guys now go to him and say, you have to address that. Because at the end of the day, if you listen to his rebuttal, because the reporters did ask him, they say, hey, man, what was that? Well, I was just blocking. I didn't really see the play, whatever. You weren't blocking.
He didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything, right?
Right.
And so
he
Mike
was a
Tomlin,
cigar store Indian, you're right.
This is why Mike Tomlin is so great. He goes, now I'm going to let you stand in front of the pack. Because now you have to answer yourself.
And here's the deal. In my understanding of how football locker rooms work, please tell me if I'm wrong, he has no choice. He has to.
Right.
Because everyone has seen it now, even if they didn't know about it, because you're busy on the sideline and doing your own thing. Everyone in the locker room knows about it now. The coach has now spoken about it. And here's what I love about what Tomlin did. He's going to give him the opportunity to do 2 things. One, privately address the guys, and he has to, because like you said, we're not 3-10.
No.
Man, we're fighting tooth and nail to try to get into the playoffs.
What the offense, by the way, is trying to find itself.
Like, we need you to be mentally engaged in a game. And here's the thing I love about Tomlin, because it's a great teaching moment for a young, immature player. I'm going to allow you to explain yourself to the fans, to the media, knowing what the media is going to do. It's going to be hard question, hard question, hard question. Now, I'm sure they'll prep him for it, but the fact that Mike Tomlin's not protecting the kid, I think is a great learning experience.
And this is why also it's a bad luck. You talk about Hines Ward and James Harrison, now semifinalists into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Who is?
Hines Ward and James Harrison. The bottom line is,
maybe.
Hines, his identity was what? Blocking. His identity set the tone of what a Steeler receiver is, as far as blocking and being dependable, hard-nosed, a leader. That's not a Steeler receiver. So now he has to answer to why he's not playing up to brand and up to standard. And that's a bad look for him. And I don't know what he's going to do for it, but the next game, he better play like his hands on fire.
I just want to say this really quick because
I agree. Hines Ward's not a Hall of Famer. No, we didn't even discuss it.
This type of play happens all the time with receivers. It does.
That egregious?
It's that egregious because the fumble occurred and the guy that he was supposed to be blocking picked up the fumble and actually started advancing the ball. But we see it with Stephon Diggs. I did it. It's just the part that didn't make sense to me is your play side of the run. You got to put some type of effort forth. It typically happens when you're on the backside. When you're on the backside of a run, you kind of just let the play happen, pull your defender away, but you can't do that. But this happens with every receiver in the National Football League. I don't care who you are.
But I'll say the receiver at the bottom of the screen, I assume is Pickens. I'm not 100% sure on that. The play's going to the left.
He's running a fake little bubble screen.
So him kind of even doing like a 2-yard nothing is one thing. When the run's coming in your direction, A, you're not engaged in the play, B, you're not blocking the guy on the side the run's going to, and C, even after you see a fumble, and the dude that you're facing picks the ball up, You still did nothing.
You no longer have to
What's that
identify
now?
what is going on because you see players running. That means you got to now react. Offensive linemen were standing. They saw the player run, pick up the ball and run. They start running. You see something. You're not out there with your eyes closed. That's the problem that I feel like he's going to have to truly answer to and explain to his teammates.
Moving to third in football, this is interesting news. The Colts are somehow right now in the playoffs. However, Jonathan Taylor's going to undergo thumb surgery, and he should be out for 2 or 3 weeks. Does this news eliminate the Colts from the playoffs where they currently stand?
I want to know how big that dude's head is. That's the biggest helmet I've ever seen.
See that all the time.
Not like that, like big bubble head.
Oh, okay.
Here's what's interesting about this. Jonathan Taylor has been screwed by the Colts. Everyone forgets the offseason, right? And now that the Colts are in playoff contention, and Jonathan Taylor's a big part of that, helping a backup quarterback navigate, through the AFC here as a current, playoff team. Now they're like, oh man, he's so important to our offense. We're going to miss him for 2 to 3 weeks with the broken thumb. How are we ever going to live without him? Yet 4 months ago, they were like, go see if anybody wants you. Like, we don't have to bring you back.
Yeah.
You're not that important to us. Yes, to answer your question, it's a major impact on the Colts, as it would be for any young team with a backup quarterback that relies on a stud running back. But of the other teams chasing them, none of them really stand out as guaranteed locks to overcome the Colts, whether it's the Texans, whether it's the Bills, whether it's your Broncos.
Let's ride.
Right. So, to me, they're all in the same basket right there. And I think the Colts obviously take a big hit here, but that doesn't mean the Colts can't stay alive for that 7th spot.
I think they're fine. They got a backup with Zach Moss who does a hell of a job. And Zach Moss has been pretty much been able to carry the float. Now, the issue with this problem is, do they put him on IR or do they allow him to come from go to surgery and get back? Because if he goes on IR, he's out for 4 weeks. And so that's pretty much the season's a wrap at that point. But
What is this new thing, the Heinz Ward thing? The modern era player? That's the new thing for the Hall of Fame? Like, we're really watering it down that much? Is that really what we're doing?
It's really bothering you.
They're telling me to stop.
why are you being a hater?
God forbid I have a take on something. Let's get back to Rasheed Rice in Kansas City.
Developing a rhythm.
Hey, guess what? Everyone with the Jets is coming back because they deserve their jobs. In any event, that's next. Why are all the big players with the New York Jets allegedly coming back for another year? The answer is number 8. We'll explain right after this. All right, welcome back to the Carton Show. I made you guys a promise we're not going to do a lot of Jets talk the rest of the way here. But it's something I've been telling you also for weeks now. And the rest of the media just, I guess found our show or something. But it's the fact that everybody's coming back. That means that Robert Saleh, head coach of the Jets, job is safe. Joe Douglas, general manager, going into year 6 now, has never had a winning season as general manager. Job is safe. And maybe the most interesting one, Nathaniel Hackett, failed offensive coordinator here in year 1, job safe. Now, why is the job safe?
Why?
Because all of their futures are tied to the reality that they made a commitment to Aaron Rodgers. The day Aaron Rodgers went down, their jobs got protected for next year. Because as some Jet insiders will tell you, if you would agree that we're over 500 right now with Aaron Rodgers, pick whatever you want the record to be, but we're a legitimate playoff team, then you can't tell me I'm doing a bad job coaching. You can't tell me I'm doing a bad job putting the team together. And you can't tell me I'm doing a bad job as a coordinator. We're all agreeing the only reason we're struggling is because we lost the most important piece of all of it, the quarterback. If the quarterback comes back, all of a sudden, we got a really good team, we got a really good coach team, and we're going to make the playoffs. Here's the problem with tying everybody to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers may very well have a couple more years of great football in him. He's a lousy general manager, and he's the de facto general manager. And I can support that by showing you this. These are the decisions that the de facto general manager forced on the New York Jets.
Not good.
$44 million to Alan Lazard. I did the math. That's $9 million per catch. Ooh. Randall Cobb, great guy. I know you like him a lot. You played with Randall Cobb.
Sucks.
Randall Cobb got $3 or $4 million. That's $1 million a catch. All right. Dalvin Cook. Oh my God, the two-headed monster, Dalvin Cook.
1,000
Breece
yards.
Hall. How are they ever going to stop us? Dalvin Cook hasn't rushed for 150 yards yet.
Yep.
Nathaniel Hackett. The offense this year is worse than the offense last year. Worse. And, of course, you have TB7, whatever number he wears. Timmy Boyle, who now has as many touchdown passes in the NFL as he does in college. Tim Boyle showed you last week Zach Wilson was not the real problem with this squad.
Yeah, look, we all understand, like you said, that their jobs are tied to Aaron Rodgers. What I would like to see happen, or what I'm interested in seeing happen, is if the guys on that list, not necessarily Nathaniel Hackett, not the coaching, but like, are you bringing Randall Cobb back? Because
he's not coming back.
Like, even Alan Lazard, I know you're tied with the contract and things, but you were extremely excited about Alan Lazard, and I kind of tried to tell you, look,
you did.
He ain't it.
You told me you tried. You told he ain't the guy.
But you have to give it an opportunity to kind of play itself out, because there's no true assessment of really any of these guys. Because you got to believe that Alan Lazard would even be better.
I will tell you this, though, and this is my last thing on this for the moment with the New York Jets, and here's the problem I have. I'm assuming Aaron comes back next year 100% healthy, good to go, and fingers crossed he doesn't suffer another catastrophic injury. My concern, and I think you can back me up on this, having played the position.
That's right.
If Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt on the fourth play of the season, game 1 against the Bills, what I've seen, and I've been around like you guys have a long time, I've traveled with teams, I've covered teams, and I've seen enough. He would have gotten killed, because the Jets' offensive line is the worst offensive line in football. And if you want to blame some injuries on that, I appreciate it.
Yes.
AVT, Becton, Brown.
Yeah,
but the reality is this, a 40-year-old quarterback who's not as mobile as he used to be would have gotten killed. So, I mean, like, I want to be clear. This ain't hyperbole. Like, we're pallbearers. Like, he's dead. Not like, he got hurt and his career's over, or he missed the year. Like, he's dead. He's not breathing anymore. He's 6 feet underground. Oh, my God, it finally happened. An NFL player, quarterback, got killed because his offensive line stunk. That's what would have happened to Aaron Rodgers.
This is where I disagree, because he would have got the ball out of his hand, right? You talk about Aaron
He didn't against the Bills.
Well, it was 3 plays in, and he was still warming up his back.
So 30 plays would have been better?
Yeah, 100%, because his decision-making, his ability to sniff out defenses, and his ability to get rid of football get guys into the game. Overall, my problem with this whole situation is Nathaniel Hackett. When you sent Zach Wilson to the bench, you sent Hackett to the bench. Hackett is the problem, because there's this philosophy.
Hackett's guaranteed to come back.
Out of all the people, Hackett is the one that's staying.
Can I finish?
Doesn't mean that's the problem.
Let me finish. And my point is, because there's this understand that because Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs, Hackett's tutelage, if you will, that there's a connection. We forget LaFleur called those plays. It wasn't Hackett calling the plays.
Yeah, but you know why Hackett's there. Hackett's in New York for the same reason Hackett was in Denver. Denver thought they were going to get Aaron Rodgers. The Jets got him, so Hackett came along with Richard, let me talk.
Have you not learned anything yet?
Yes, I have. Hackett sucks, and he has done nothing.
What Aaron Rodgers wants, Rodgers
Rodgers wants to call the plays. He doesn't want Hackett to get in the way. That's what it is.
And to back up Greg's point, that what Aaron Rodgers wants, Aaron Rodgers gets.
And look
he ended his career.
But you just put up a whole graphic of what Aaron Rodgers gave us.
And we got it. But I can
and you want to do this again next year?
I have no
with
choice.
No changes.
I don't think Randall Cobb's coming back. I don't think Uzama's going to be on this team next year. There'll be little slight changes, but I think Greg is right. The one change that I guarantee you is not happening, and it is a lock. The guy's in. He bought. He didn't rent. Nathaniel Hackett is 100% going to be Aaron Rodgers' offensive coordinator.
I will push back with what Willie's saying about you and the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers would be dead. I disagree, because I think there would be a lot more attention given to trying to provide Aaron, if he was still under center, with better guys. However you tried to piece it and patch it together, whether you're trying to get guys in trades, there would have been more attention given to this offensive line to try to patchwork it if Aaron Rodgers were your quarterback.
Yeah, look, just give me some, what do they call them, hog mollies? Is that the word Dave Gettleman used many years ago?
But Craig,
Giants, give me dudes who can block.
Yeah, but look, think about it. There were guys out there talking about Jason Peters. He's with the Seattle Seahawks right now.
Yeah.
A veteran guy. Who could
I brought in a veteran guy. Dwayne Brown got my quarterback killed. I tried that. Look, I'm sorry. I'll argue with you all day on this because I'm right.
Dwayne
We
Brown's
need
a
an
good
offensive line. Our offensive line stinks.
Yeah, you're not wrong in that. You
Thank
do
you.
need
Yeah, you got practice squad and reserves on the field.
Right. So Joe Douglas has one job. Go get some big, fat, strong country guys and teach them how to block. You know how to block, little alligator arm stuff. This.
Oh, do the shuffle. Do the shuffle. Do the shuffle.
This,
Do the shuffle.
right.
Show the shuffle. Yeah, show the shuffle.
Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Other way. There it is. Yeah, you got him. You got him. You got him. You got him. Yeah.
He would get put in the blender if he was in the offensive
Like
line.
this. Let's go, Biggs. Come on. I'm saying I'll be your tackle. You be my guard.
No, you gonna be on the sideline.
Rodgers would be alive. Craig might be
by
dead.
the way, there's nothing athletic about that at all. I go to training camp. Your wide receivers are like,
What's so athletic? I'm Craig Carton. This is the Craig Carton Show. You know, welcome everybody. That's really athletic. 30 years on the job. Hey, look at
We'll
me.
be back. Philly, San Francisco, game of the year coming up.
Can we show Craig the softball?
Slow-mo shuffle, baby.
It's like he's catching melons.
Hey.
Good morning and welcome back to the Carton Show. We have your early morning headlines. We start with this. Remember last time in the playoffs, Brock Purdy got hurt, Hassan Reed around the corner. So the question was asked of Deebo Samuel. Does his lack of performance in last year's playoff game against the Eagles in Philly mean there's more pressure on him now? Here's what he said.
Brock is probably one of the calmest players that I've been around, actually. Like, not no rah-rah, like no yelling, like none of that. Because after the game or we had like a practice yesterday or anything, like, and he said nothing about, bro, this is the game that I heard this, or this is the game, like, we didn't get to do this, that, and the third. You don't hear nothing like that from him.
How much pressure is there on Purdy this Sunday?
Kay Adams looked like she was really into that. The same. I'm such a. The same. I'm just saying. She does a great job. The same amount of pressure that's on him every week. Like, it's the NFL. You only get 17 of them. You're the starting quarterback. It's obviously a matchup. We all know what it is. You didn't get to play last time because Hassan Reddick made a great move, got to you, and obviously in a freak accident or tackle that he didn't mean anything by, got you on the elbow, and we know the rest of it. They were forced to play without a quarterback the rest of the way in that game. So it's a lot riding on it from a standpoint of that. The rematch, obviously the ability to walk out of this game saying we are the best team in the NFC because the winner of this game does get to chirp, no doubt about that. And the winner of this game has the inside track to also be the number one seed. From a Philly standpoint, we're just going to keep doing what we do. You can count us out. You can tell us how our point differential isn't what you want it to be and how we've almost lost all these games. But you know what? We win every game. So I just think that's one of those games. If you have a rooting interest, this is going to be agita, right? It's going to be a Pepto-Bismol kind of game for you. For the rest of us who just want to see a great football game, who may root for teams that don't play real football, I'm that guy. I just can't wait to watch it because it should be the best of what the NFL has to offer. But from a Brock Purdy standpoint, pressure for Brock Purdy was every game last year. As the unproven Mr. Irrelevant coming in for Jimmy G, Trey Lance is supposed to be the guy. Nobody ever heard of you. And now, bing, 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 bing. You lead an undefeated run towards an NFC Championship game. Pressure, pressure, pressure. But now you're the guy. And outside of a couple performances, you've lived up to it. The bad game we all talk about that he had against Minnesota, we forget that he got concussed in that game. Yeah. And his numbers pre-concussion were a lot different than the numbers, especially interceptions. He threw 2 after the concussion, right? The Browns game, bad game, got them in the spot to kick what could have been the game-winning field goal. So he's back. He's playing high-level football. And to be fair, I guarantee you, Nick Sirianni and Philadelphia do not view him as a young, inexperienced rookie quarterback that they can fluster. They respect Brock Purdy's game because it's as good as anyone's.
Yeah, I think we talked about this earlier. This game is for validation. And I think you talk about what defines you. We go back and we talk about Dak. In certain games, we point out about what defines him and how he played. Well, this is going to be a game like that for Brock Purdy. So he has to be able to step onto the field and to have a day. And not only have a day, but be dominant. Because listen, Hassan Reddick and his defense, they're going to be juiced up.
They're going to come and try
to get it. And they understand what's at stake. So if I'm Brock, continue to be Brock, but just understand there's a target on your back, and you got to show up.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any added or additional pressure, and I kind of go to what you just said. Last year, if there were any pressure, it was then. And he created that pressure the more he played and the better he played each and every week, because he's continued to set the expectations of, oh, well then, if he's playing this great, he doesn't turn the ball over, can he do it again? Can he do it again? And he never got that opportunity to do it in the NFC Championship game. And so with these guys in this huddle, in this locker room with him, they're not adding pressure on him. They just feel like we didn't have one of our key parts.
Yeah, there's also one other aspect of Brock Purdy that no one's going to remember, because we're going to remember the NFC Championship game and, the injury and all that stuff. And that is, they were losing. They were trailing to the Seattle Seahawks at halftime. It was 17-16 Seattle at halftime. If you want to talk about pressure, be a rookie quarterback about to blow a playoff game on a team that's got the goods to make a run to a Super Bowl. And in the second half of that game, I think he wound up throwing 4 total touchdowns. They scored 41 points. The defense showed up big time in the second half, and they blew Seattle out. But at halftime, they go in down 17-16 and ran them out of the building in the second half. That's pressure. This big game, but no more pressure than a lot of the games he's been in.
I agree. It's a huge game and the pressure that comes with that. But in a weird way, I think there's more pressure on Brock Purdy in that Jacksonville game after the 3 losses.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because then it started looking like, are we going to lose 4 in a row? Is my job at stake? Because this one is a huge game. There's pressure that comes with
the
that.
whole system quarterback started.
Yeah, like that whole thing started happening. I feel like that was the game where he really felt the most pressure this season thus far.
Man, look, Deebo's there. Ayuk, who doesn't get any love nationally, who's as good as any receiver in football, would be a number 1 on a lot of teams in the league. Obviously, you got George Kittle, who's probably the most unselfish tight end in the entire league.
No question.
Trent Williams is back. And don't forget that San Fran defense, because they've got a front 4 as good as any front 4 in the league. And then, by the way, what you guys referred to, and I hate this, the second level, their linebackers are pretty damn good too.
Oh, hell yeah. And on top of that, when you got guys like Fred Warner talking about, hey, this is just a regular game for us because it's the next one. Bottom line is, you're about to go see on Sunday, it's not going to be a regular game.
No, because the Philadelphia crowds, they're drinking now, getting ready.
Yeah.
I actually saw, no joke, I saw a video yesterday of a gal living in South Philly who had about 5,000 green Jell-O shots that she was putting into a cooler for Sunday's game.
Oh,
they're ready in Philly.
That's game preparation.
That's right.
You guys do your game prep. We do our game prep. It's just a little different. Yeah. Moving on to the next headline, and that involves tomorrow night's game between the Cowboys and the Seahawks. And Jerry Jones, like he does every Tuesday, got on the radio and said some crazy things. Here he is talking about Dak Prescott.
I can definitively say this is the best I've seen him play. I think that I would give Mike McCarthy a lot of credit here. They've stayed consistent with the changes and what he's trying to do offensively. That's paying off. That's what's working out there, is what they've been working on.
Is this the best Dak Prescott has ever played?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's from a consistency standpoint, because he's not turning the ball over. Like this little mini streak they're on, it's 20 touchdowns and only 2 picks. Now, you do have to put in the caveat that they're playing bad teams, because that is a part of it, and they're blowing teams out. So it's very easy to play offense when you've got a 20-point lead, and you literally can stand back there and go, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown.
Thanks, Dak.
Ferguson, if you're wide open, you don't get a touchdown.
Oh, man.
But everybody else gets touchdowns on the Dallas Cowboys, Oprah style. When you start playing better competition, that's where we want to see Dak, which is why, for a lot of Cowboy fans, the most important game Dak played this year was the Eagle game. It's a loss, but he played well. I think we all agree he outperformed Jalen Hurts in that game, but Philly got through, and that's all that matters. But I think that made a lot of Cowboy fans go, okay, we're going to be all right. Dak showed up in a big game and threw, 3 touchdown passes, no turnovers, all that stuff. So I think there's a sense of calm in the moment. I think that calm goes away next week when Philly comes to town. But right now, I think Cowboy fans have the most belief they've had in Dak Prescott in his career.
Yeah, a lot of what you see with Dak doing right now, especially he's able to smoke out the defense. If you watch, especially against Carolina, him being able to take CeeDee Lamb, motion him across the formation, and allow Dak to see those one-on-one matchups for big plays down the field. So Dak is seeing the offense. Like, he's seeing the field. He's getting the ball out. He's not afraid to throw the ball downfield. And Greg alluded to this earlier. I think in the start of the season, we have to protect Dak, right? Solely because we didn't want him to be a turnover machine. I even talked about there being a power shift in the organization. Defense first, now offense. Now that totally has reversed. Now it's this offense and Dak leading this team, and the defense are really putting their hands back because most of the times they're playing with the lead. So now you see Micah Parsons and his defense really going to hunt. And Dallas Cowboys, however you feel about them, man, they're playing big-time football, and he's the face.
And by the way, the unsung hero of that defense, we all know about Micah Parsons, know about Bland setting the record, 5 pick sixes for that Cowboy defense. But the acquisition of Stephon Gilmore is significant for them because he still got it. He may not be the guy he was in New England for all those years, but he is still a very competent cornerback and has made some very big plays for that defense. They're a tough defense right now to throw the ball against, and that might have been early on a bit of their Achilles heel, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, well, he can play well when you got a pass rush that's not going to allow you to cover for so long. But in terms of Dak, like, this is the best he's played. I think he's in the best headspace. When you listen to him talk, even a couple days ago, he talks about Mike McCarthy, the play caller, being concise with the plays, understanding what's exactly needed and how to execute it. And I think even when we look at these past couple games, we're seeing other guys get involved. And I think that is really strategic because we know what Dak and CeeDee Lamb can do as far as their quarterback relation and chemistry between the two of them. But in order for them to make a deep run, if teams can take away CeeDee Lamb and then have a path of success against the Dallas Cowboys, that bodes a problem for the Dallas Cowboys because now it puts all the pressure on Dak to really try to get and figure it out with other guys. Well, they've been doing that these last few weeks. We've seen Brandon Cooks come on board. We've seen Gallup. We've seen Ferguson. All these other guys are starting to have more impactful plays and play a more valuable piece and role to why the Dallas Cowboys are being successful. And it's building the confidence of your quarterback to the point of I can throw the ball to any one of these guys. Right. It's not just CeeDee Lamb. Running the ball for me, when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, I don't even care about that because it comes off of what they do in the passing game. And Dak Prescott, if he continues to play this way, it's going to be hard for them to lose to any team to beat.
Look, they've also got a two-headed monster at tight end now. They've got a lot of guys that can catch the ball, 5 yards down the field and 50 yards down the field. And when you look at Dak's best year, it's probably, to be fair, the 2021 year, when he had 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions and threw for essentially 4,500 yards. He's on pace to break all that. Now, he had more yards a couple years prior to that, earlier in his career, but 37 and 10 for 4,500 yards. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff Hall of Fame careers are made of.
Remember 3 months ago, Jerry Jones does a lot of talking. And 3 months ago, what he said was we need Dak to do less before the snap, get the ball out faster, do less off the snap, and just basically they're like, we're going to dumb this down to limit Dak hurting us. And now 3 months later, Jerry Jones on the radio saying this is the best Dak has ever played.
Yeah, part of me feels like when Dak hit that bye week after the bad loss against San Fran, he had a moment in the mirror. Like if this team goes down, it won't be because of me. And I think ever since that bye week, leading up to right now, he's been the guy. He's been the man that's really taking charge. And that's why you pay him that much money.
Yeah,
man.
But remember, all these wins are against teams that are not over 500. So you got to beat Seattle. When you beat Seattle, they go to 500. So that'll be the storyline again. No wins against teams over 500. And then you get what they call in football parlance, these guys don't like to talk the language all the time, but I'll say it, the big maca in town is Philadelphia. And they come to Dallas ready for a little taste of what Dak Prescott has to offer. And they probably come in off a loss to San Francisco. Could you imagine the Eagle team losing back-to-back games?
I love your confidence.
The panic in Philly would be real.
Moving on to our third headline, Tyreek Hill was famously part of a Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs team. Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And he's now currently part of the Dolphins, as you see by the uniform there. And he compared those two teams, and what he said might be surprising.
Like the way we practice, like the way we play for one another is something that I've never seen before in a team. Like, I won a Super Bowl, and I feel like this is probably the better team than when we won a Super Bowl back when I was on KC.
Ooh. So we always talk about the Ravens and the Chiefs being the best teams in the AFC. Should we start considering the Dolphins one of the best teams in the AFC?
They are one of the best teams.
What about top two? We always think like Ravens, Chiefs.
Yeah, that's right.
Name them
It's
with
Ravens, Chiefs, Dolphins.
Right,
1, 2, 3.
okay.
I hope that's not offensive to anybody in South Beach, but I'm jealous. We do the show here.
What?
They're doing the show at a marina.
Their desk is like 20 yards long too. They must not like each other.
Like, dude, I wish we had that kind of separation.
I need to be
I mean,
I didn't even close.
not for nothing, but Fox, what are you doing?
They got sunglasses on.
You guys got a hat?
Hanging out.
You got a white. This is
I
great.
beg them to move our show to Florida. All right, in any event, Tyreek Hill's funny, right? He's a stand-up comedian, but he's also a great teammate in that regard. Like, he knows full well that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones and all the stuff they had in Kansas City was as good as any team that's ever been put on NFL field, which is why they won a Super Bowl with a very young quarterback at the time in Patty Mahomes. But this is what makes him lovable, because he knows what he's saying isn't factually correct, nor does it matter. Here's what I love about it. I understand what he's doing. He's popping his own guys up. I do it with you guys all the time.
Well, thanks.
Would I rather have Michael Irvin? Of course I would. But Greg Jennings is awesome. He's the best wide receiver I've ever had on this show. James Jones stinks. You know, that kind of stuff, right? Because that's what a good leader does. It's what a good teammate does. Truth be told, the Dolphins are one of the elite teams in the AFC. But I love how real football fans are like, I can't believe, like Ryan, I can't believe he thinks this team is better than that Kansas City team. Do you know what those stats are? No offense, I love Ryan, he's one of our producers, but it pisses people like that off.
Yep.
When the rest of us are like, I get what he's doing.
Yeah.
You're
He's
so
loving
funny.
his girlfriend at the moment.
Yeah. Right.
Look, is he? Because he did this when he first got down to Miami talking about
he hasn't won a playoff game in Miami
Hold
yet.
on. About Tua throws a better ball, and he's this and he's that. And we all laughed at it like, what is he talking about? And then Tua came out last year, and because of the injuries, he was having a stellar season, throwing the ball, being very accurate. I understand, but I don't think this is just talk to uplift his teammates. I think he truly believes it. And when you look at this team from a roster standpoint, I'm not saying that they are a better team. I think when he's talking about it, he's talking about the talent that we have. We're more talented.
Except for one thing, and I'm going to say this with all due respect, you're a wide receiver.
Totally.
You need a guy to get you the ball.
But he has that.
Tua's done a great job, especially with his health and him healthy on the field. He's obviously a legitimate quarterback. We can put that story aside now, right? But your job, your ability to pay your mortgage is based on who's throwing me to rock.
I understand.
No one's taking Tua over Patrick Mahomes.
Put yourself in Tyreek Hill's shoes for a second.
Yeah.
Like, he truly believes that he's the X factor. And who's to say he's not?
All right, so let me ask you a quick question.
Who's that? Tyreek?
Yes.
As everybody knows, before Tyreek signed with the Miami Dolphins, the Kansas City Chiefs had a deal in place. This is not conjecture. This is facts.
He's going to be a Jet.
He was going to be a New York Jet.
Yeah, he was.
Kansas City said, we can do a deal in New York. We have it in place.
Yep.
We could do a deal in Miami. We have it in place. Because we're great guys, Andy Reid and the Hunt family, you decide where you want to go. We're good either way. Let's just play make-believe for a second. Make-believe Carton Show, okay? Hey, can you believe Tyreek Hill yesterday came out and said that Zach Wilson is the best quarterback he's ever played with? You all right?
he probably wouldn't have said that.
But he might have said, this Jet team is better than that Super Bowl champion Chiefs team. Right, that's the point. He's being a great teammate, and whether he believes it or not is not even the point. The Dolphins are going to have a chance to prove it. They're going to win the AFC East. They're going to have a home playoff game. Outside shot of being the number one seed, still on the table for them. And then we'll see if they can do something they haven't done in 30 years. Win a playoff game.
But Craig, they lost in Germany to the Chiefs.
They did.
So, what are you talking about? So, your team couldn't do anything against the Chiefs, and when the Chiefs weren't that good, Kelce had 3 catches for 88-some yards. The secondary, we forget, go back to the Germany game.
Yeah.
The Dolphins wasn't a good against a head-to-head matchup, and Tua was healthy, and Patrick Mahomes
Well, then ask the question. Here's the question. I'll play the game.
So, no, they're not the better team.
Does anybody think that the Chiefs would lose to the Dolphins in a playoff game this year?
No.
I do.
No.
I do.
No,
you think the Chiefs would lose?
The Chiefs will lose, or I think the Dolphins will lose.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah. I got
There you
that
go.
confused.
I said it wrong.
I think about Tyreek Hill watching that Eagles-Chiefs game and watching all those drops from the receivers. You know he loves that. You know he loves watching all those Chiefs receivers drop those balls.
Of course he does.
He must.
Does he? I mean, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, no receiver likes seeing another receiver drop balls.
Yes,
he
does.
even commented and tweeted or whatever, X'd it or whatever when
hard to see those lights.
When MVS had the drop that could have won that game for Kansas City, he even commented about how challenging of a catch that really is. Like, a lot of people don't know how hard of a catch that is to make. And he was correct. Still got to make that catch.
It's so funny you bring it up. Just a quick aside. Think about this for a moment, this alternate universe we might be living in. If MVS, alternate universe Carton Show, real quick. If MVS catches the ball that hits him square in the hands, and Gabe Davis and Josh Allen are on the same page on third down and overtime, the Eagles have lost back-to-back games going into a matchup against San Francisco.
And they lost to the Jets.
And they lost to the Jets. Maybe they're not that good.
Yeah, but how did you start that? Alternate universe, right? Come back to reality.
After the break, Will.
My machine only goes one way. That doesn't work. It only goes like this. It doesn't go the other way. Are we taking a break here? Yeah. And what's coming up after the break?
I don't know. The graphic will tell you.
I'm not doing that, Tom. We're gonna go right to the rock star that Tommy DeVito is here in New Jersey, and maybe a little bit on Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, since we just did the Dolphins side of things. We'll see how I feel in 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere. This guy right here is a Super Bowl champion.
Yes.
That's Willie Colon. That guy right there is a Super Bowl champion.
Robbery.
And Green Bay Packer Hall of Famer, Mr. Greg Anthony Jennings. And that guy right there has watched the Super Bowl. And his name, of course, is David Jacoby. He's buying drinks after the show. If you want to meet us on the corner 23rd and 8th in the city, we will be there.
23rd and
All right, in any event, I got to tell you what. There's nothing like an undrafted kid making good and experiencing life as a rock star, even if it's short-lived. My guy, Mr. Paisano, Tommy DeVito, had an appearance at an Italian deli yesterday. Go figure, right? And there was a 2.5-hour line.
Oh, wow.
You see it right there. All right.
Tommy DeVito.
That is a legitimate wait for 2.5 hours to meet Tommy DeVito. Now, people were allowed to bring one item for Tommy to sign. The most popular item was not a Giant jersey, was not a Giant helmet, was not a football. It was what used to be referred to as the wife beater T-shirt.
Right.
You know, like the white tank top?
Yeah. Rib tank.
The Italian Americans were like, forget about it. Marlon Brando would appreciate this. And they asked him to sign not Tommy DeVito. They've given him a nickname. What? His new name in New Jersey, from North Jersey to South Jersey, is Tommy Cutlets.
Tommy Cutlets!
Hey! That's...
Do you think his real name is Thomas? I think his birth certificate is Thomas.
Well, his dad told the story that his original name when he was born was going to be Dante.
Great name.
All right, Dante DeVito.
Great name.
And the reason they gave him the name Tommy is because the dad's a football nut and wanted his initials to be TD. Oh. They also had an opportunity to pick what the birthday was going to be when Mama DeVito was getting ready to push him out. And they specifically chose the 7th of the month because 7 stands for a touchdown. Oh. So how about that? Wow. So, but I love it because it's not going to last forever, as you guys know. Fame is fleeting, but in the moment, this kid's doing exactly what he should be doing, enjoying every bit of this fame in the easiest city it is to be a rock star.
And it's cool to see, man. This is when you give inspirations to any and every kid out there that all you need is an opportunity and a chance. And if you make good in it and of it, This can happen.
I mean, look, isn't that the Victor Cruz life story right there?
No question.
It really is,
Now
right?
he has to finish the trifecta. Get one, go hook up with Jay Wow from Jersey.
There you go. There you go.
Now you gotta bring it on.
Jay Wow.
Maybe Jay Wow, Snooki or somebody like that.
I've got one of those shirts on right here. Pardon me for a second.
What we got?
And
what are you
maybe
doing,
you want to
Craig?
sign it for me?
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time since someone asked you for an autograph.
Okay, I got it.
There you go.
yeah, Willie.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Nice. Maybe Greg over here.
Great.
While you're over here, just real quick, if I could have you. If I could just have you sign.
Oh, don't be. You're too big for an autograph.
Sign that breast right there.
That breast?
If you
Okay.
don't mind, right there. There you go. Look at that. Yeah.
Look at
Call me
that.
Craigie Comments.
Hey,
Yeah. I'm just gonna draw a picture.
Yeah.
All right. But good for the DeVitos. I'm glad the entire family's in on it and enjoying it. It's great. All right, from there, today is Wednesday. It is time for a little something we call Panic.
It is the panic button, and it does not need explanation. We start with this. They've lost 2 games in a row. They face the Cowboys tomorrow night. Mr. Carton, is it time for the Seahawks to
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that panic set in not just this week. That panic set in a month ago. There's something wrong with the offense. I know Geno has been hurt, so you want to give him a little bit of grace in regards to that offense not working. Kenny Walker, of course, the bellwether running back, is hurt as well. But what I can't figure out is that offense fell off a cliff. Like Lockett came back. DK Metcalf is on the team. You have Kenny Walker in year 2. And it hasn't been right, really, from Jump Street. And I'm not sure how much of that is Geno Smith regressing a little bit back to what he really is after the great year last year, comeback player of the year, gets the bag and all that stuff. They're just not a really good team, but they're also not a bad team. Very well coached with Pete Carroll, as always. And they're still kind of in the mix for a wild card spot. But I think panic set in 3-4 weeks ago when they recognized we're just not going to beat teams by showing up.
Yeah, I think they haven't been quite right ever since they took that shellacking from Baltimore in Baltimore. Like, they just never been able to recover from that. And here they are 2.5 games behind the San Francisco 49ers, and now possibly going 3.5 with this loss. They're fighting for their season tomorrow night.
Well, look, and the divisions are wrapped for them now. The question is, can they win enough games to be alive in week 17 and 18 to sneak in as a 6 or 7 seed, which is still going to be, in the NFC, easier than the AFC? Yep. So I would not be shocked if Seattle, 3 weeks from now, is at least on the right side of that board in the hunt.
Sure.
Because the NFC is not deep.
And that's
They took
why
the Giants off that graphic. What happened?
Well, because the people
said
upstairs.
barely, by the way.
What happened?
this is why, when you look at this is why I'm not panicking with the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh,
I think they
listen to
still
Greg.
get in. Like, I don't think they have.
Well, look, they got a one-game lead, game lead over everybody else. So it's there. It's they're in the driver's
Do we know their
seat.
schedule?
The problem is that Seattle has to play a couple of really tough teams.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, their schedule's not easy. Okay. Their schedule's actually playoff team down the stretch.
Cowboys,
Next team
Niners.
played great on Sunday. Probably the best year the quarterback has played all season.
Really?
However, they're 6-6. They have a tough road into the playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Greg. Is it time for the Bills to panic?
It is.
What?
Hit the button.
Get the button, man.
I'm sorry, guys. I forgot. I had a panic moment.
Like Western Michigan.
I think that. Stop it. I think that they have a chance, but when you look at their schedule and their remaining schedule, like, it's just. They need so much help. We've talked about
the
it.
Cowboys?
Yeah,
No problem.
No problem, right?
Yeah,
The point is, they haven't been able to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. So you have to panic if you're the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, if I may, this is a little late, this question. I'm sorry.
So we ask it every week. We ask it every week.
They fired their offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, after their special teams coach allowed a 12th man to be on the field for what would have been a game-winning field goal miss. They already panicked.
Yeah.
Like, panic set in 2 weeks ago for the Buffalo
They
Bills.
panicked, but then they got the big win against the Jets. And so it was like, oh, we got to win. Here
Look,
we go.
there's a couple teams out there, namely the Bills and the Denver Broncos, who at some point are going to wake up in January going, I cannot believe we didn't make the playoffs
the Eagles.
because we lost to the Jets. That's going to be a tough trip to Atlantis when those guys are on the plane going, I cannot believe we're going to the Bahamas and it's only January 10th.
Snap.
Moving on.
Been there.
They're currently in the playoffs right now as it stands. However, they just lost their running back for a couple weeks, and they start Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Is it time to panic if you are the Colts, Willie?
No, it's not time to panic because I believe in Zach Moss. They have a good backup running back in him. And bottom line, I'm not. There's no reason to panic.
Sure?
I said no panic.
You sure?
No, I know where I'm at. Yeah, they're 7th spot. They're fine.
He knows how the segment works, Greg.
Yeah. No, I think they're fine. I think they know who they are. There's no reason to panic. If they win, they're in. If they continue to lose, they got the Texans crawling up their back in the same division. But I don't think it's time to panic with them.
Dude, they lost their starting quarterback in like week 4. They just lost their starting running back for at least 2 to 3 weeks, Taylor with the broken thumb. And somehow, some
They're
way,
still there.
They're not just there, they're in,
Right.
as Jacoby said right now. So this is all a bit of a house money situation where no one expected this. Even if Anthony Richardson played every game and he showed some promise early on in a couple games, this is one of those years where 0 expectations, new head coach, new quarterback, disgruntled running back who doesn't play the first month of the season. And the fact that they're there, I'm not going to put you guys on the spot. I'm going to put one of our highly paid producers off camera on the spot. I'll pick one of the random 19 guys there. Troy, I'll go to you. What's the name of the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts? Right, you don't know. Exactly right. And that's my point right there. That you have a guy named Shane Steichen who came from Philadelphia, and he's a no-name head coach who, by the way, should get votes for Coach of the Year. The fact that a dysfunctional organization led by, was it Jim Irsay, right? Yep. Who's a weird dude. We all know that. You either love him or you hate him. Who pissed off the best running back they've had in a long time. Who,
brought a whale and a putter instead of signing Jonathan Taylor.
And on and on and on. The fact that they have overcome all of that, and if it ends today, they've got a playoff game.
Yeah.
I give Shane Steichen a lot of credit for votes for Coach of the Year because it's harder to do that than it is to coach Patrick Mahomes to a playoff berth. So I have a lot of respect for what Shane Steichen is doing out there in Indianapolis. A lot.
All right.
And let's give Jim Irsay some credit.
Nope.
Jim Irsay, he gets beaten down a lot for being a wacko.
Yes.
But Jim Irsay's the guy that oversaw this. He's the guy that said Shane Steichen is going to be a good head coach, right? So the owners should get a little bit of credit. After the debacle a year ago of bringing in a fat offensive lineman to be his head coach.
Moving on. This one is not for you, Greg.
Why you look over here?
We have this. Is it time for those that doubted the Denver Broncos, that buried the Denver Broncos earlier this season, and I'm talking about the 3 of us, is it time for Broncos doubters to
I
panic?
like this.
What do you want to do?
What he said.
We buried them. We're making graphics. We're clowning him every week. And then the Broncos turn around and they look like a legitimate playoff team that can even win a playoff game.
Should we be shocked the Super Bowl winning coach or the Super Bowl winning quarterback figured it out? Should we feel shocked? Or should we feel shocked that his defense finally came around?
Where was this Willie when they were 1-4?
Thank you.
Yeah, where was that Willie when they were 1-4?
Thank you.
You speak with so much passion that sometimes I believe
My point
you.
is,
bro.
eventually, when you're at the bottom, you got to rise to the top. And we're witnessing it.
And the Jets stayed right at the bottom.
Well,
He's got the big helmet too. Look at that.
Yeah. Willie, just the first time you've seen these helmets? No, I already hit the button.
Your pride won't let you hit the button.
That's
Whatever you
exactly
wanna call
right.
it. Yeah.
That's right. Because when you come from the Bronx, you don't hit a panic button.
No panic.
You strap on.
We figured it out.
That's it. You figure it out.
This one isn't for Greg. This is for the rest of us. So he's part of our family, right? Part of the fabric of the Carton.
Sure.
But then he went on Undisputed.
Oh, man.
Right? So
James Jones.
We saw that. So then he's on Undisputed. And then yesterday, he's on Instagram flaunting not just his appearance on First Thing First, but his outfit. Is it time for the Carton Show to panic because Greg Jennings is cheating on us and leaving us?
And he has the nerve to wear jet green? He's trolling us.
Easy answer. We replace him every other week. So what am I panicked about? Plaxico Burress is here. Oh, Victor Cruz is here.
Great.
We're good.
But you don't see me hitting the button.
You sound like Tyreek Hill right now. It's okay.
Very good. We're good. We're good. It is Wednesday, meaning we're also going to get to WTF Wednesday coming up in just a little bit. And big shocker yesterday as a very popular owner of a sports franchise sold the majority rights to that franchise. We'll get into that And we've got some more Pittsburgh Steelers talk as Steeler Nation right now on the inside, trying to stay there. Trying to stay there. All right, it's Wednesday. Time for everyone's favorite Wednesday segment, a little something we like to call...
What Wednesday?
All right, so yesterday, big surprise in the NBA. Mark Cuban had sold the majority stake of the Dallas Mavericks for over $3 billion to the Las Vegas casino family, the Adelsons. However, the Adelsons have zero control or say over basketball operations. I don't know, but if I dropped $3 billion on an NBA team, I'd like to make all the decisions. So for that, I say, hey, Adelson family.
What the?
Does that make any sense to anybody?
Well, they're in the gambling space. They own the Sands Casino.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right, number 2. We're going to go back to what happened this past weekend because it's the best example of a WTF moment. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, live play. He's out wide to the left, but he don't want to play.
No.
Why? Because on second down, he's a baby. Not playing, fumble. Still not playing.
Sees the fumble.
Your guy gets the ball, returns it 50 yards, and you watch it happen. And Greg Jennings, you're okay with this?
Yes, he is. Seems like it.
Yeah, no, you said that earlier in the show.
Then, Greg, I want you to talk up to the clouds and say what needs to be said right now, please.
Deontay Johnson.
What?
Yes. That's right. According to Mike Tomlin, he's going to get an opportunity to explain himself to the public and to his teammates. Ha ha! That's a real WTF moment right there. Yeah. And one more for you before we get to first of football. San Antonio Spurs, who, by the way, have lost 13 in a row because they're the worst coach team in the NBA. San Antonio Spurs forward Jeremy Sochan has a very interesting way of eating his pizza, my friends. He puts a condiment on it. Ketchup. On behalf of all pizza-eating Americans, specifically the DeVito family in New Jersey, Mr. Sochan.
What the? It's already made with tomato sauce. What are you doing?
Side point. In any event, very short, very quick, but I like the fact that you asked for it today, Greg.
Do it again.
Welcome to the team.
Do it again.
Yeah, Sochan, my man.
Sohan.
What the?
There you go. And now the first of football with Mr. Jacoby.
One quick thing. His name is Sohan.
What the?
Okay, good. Moving on. First of football, Micah Parsons talks about...
We needed that.
I'm
of all the things we needed.
I'm trying to help.
I'm
glad. Journalistic integrity.
I'm glad you said that because during the break I said, it's Sohan, right? And a certain person upstairs go, no, it's Sochan.
Person upstairs.
Upstairs. I'm not going to say names because I'm a great leader, and I don't throw teammates like Alex Buford under the bus.
Please, you should never do that.
I don't do it.
Never do that. Great point by you. Okay, we're doing first football now. Micah Parsons talked about whether or not he would exaggerate a hold to get a call. They do it all the time. Let's listen.
I'm not into the flopping business. I'm not into the dramatics, man. I'm into I just want to kill this guy. Like, whether the guy holding me, whether you're going to see it, whether the play's there's going to be another play, there's going to be another opportunity. You just got to know when to take them. So I'm not going to learn how to be like these basketball players and quarterbacks where I just flail to the ground because some guy's holding me. And then I can miss the sack because I'm flailing to the ground. You got to fight through adversity always.
So, Will, you're our in-house offensive lineman. How do you feel about the flopping defensive lineman?
No, I respect it, man. And I seen James Harrison go through it. And I watched Deebo, man, pretty much get harassed and held and jumped on a triple team. But he found the way. And so I respect the fact that he goes, at the end of the day, it's football. I got to be the difference. I know it's going to happen. I know it's expected. I got to figure a way to get. And Dan Quinn has done a great job of moving him around, putting him in more one-on-one situations. And he wins. We forget he has the highest win rate on one-on-one blocks in the league. And so he's doing
one thing I want to say on this is the difference between the flopping and basketball is they pretend they got contact. What happens when they flop in football, it's usually after they're being held.
Or touched.
There's been a violation.
Like Josh Allen's the king of it from a quarterback position. And although I still think that it was a bad non-call, we can disagree on it. Against Philly, there are videos out there of Josh Allen being a LeBron James-esque flopper in NFL games. But what I love about Micah Parsons' comment right there is that it reminded me of Alvin Mack from the movie The Program, right, with James Caan. They go, what do you do on this play? Kill the running back. How about on this play? Kill the quarterback. And on this play, kill everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like Alvin Mack is back. That's why I love that from Micah Parsons. And it's great. Quarterbacks flop. And by the way, as much as I hate it in the NBA, and my team has only had 2 penalties called against its quarterback in 3 years, the New York Jets, that's facts, you can look it up. If my quarterback gets me an extra 15 yards and extends a drive, I'm all for it. Flop as much as you got to flop.
Oh, no. And they always end up with their back looking at the.
Yeah, but he also, like Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn, they'll send a video to the Park Avenue and be like, hey, our guy's getting mugged out here. Like, help us out.
Speaking of videos, real quick, here's it's a redo on First in Football. The Cincinnati Bengals have sent the NFL like 12 hours of practice video in the game that Burrow got hurt in to prove that he didn't have a pre-existing injury before that game because people were so concerned about it because of the spread and the gambling on it. And that just happened yesterday. Just a quick little aside.
Nice, nice,
yeah, just give it out to you. Like some of those of you that were crying about, it's not fair, I didn't know.
I want my money back.
They sent hours of practice video showing Joe Burrow fine and dandy in the days leading up to that game.
And then Bill Belichick intercepted it for their game next week.
Yes, then he gave it to Jim Harbaugh.
Exactly. Okay, second down. This is interesting information about Justin Jefferson. He is now off the IR, eyeing a return. There's a bye week. They're right in the playoff contention. Do you think he'll be back on the field, and will that propel them to the playoffs?
Well, look, if he's off the IR, he's going to be back on the field. I'm sure they want him back as quickly as possible. So the bye week gives him an extra week to make sure that he's good to go with that hamstring. Look, it was a terrible loss. Let's just call it what it was. At home against the Chicago Bears. And the defense did its job. You held the Bears to 0 touchdowns and only the 4 field goals. The last one, of course, was the game winner. The issue for them is the schedule. The Bengals aren't what they were, obviously, 3 weeks ago. So Minnesota, to me, it's still a coin toss because I don't know what Dobbs is now after throwing 4 picks for Minnesota against Chicago. The Raiders are not an easy out like they might have been a month ago, right? And then, of course, Detroit twice. That's a problem for them. I think losing to Chicago is probably the game that keeps them out of the playoffs now. And I did think they were going to get to 8-4. I also had no respect at all for the Denver Broncos even a couple weeks ago. That's changed, having won 5 in a row, and give them their credit. But that Bears loss is going to haunt them.
Especially because Josh Dobbs threw 4 interceptions now and doesn't instill a lot of confidence.
And also, it was the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, the Bears didn't score a touchdown. You're at home. You have to win that game. And that's a team that beat San Francisco.
I'm not going to let you just not mention the Packers that they have still to play. Like the Packers.
That's the easiest game on their schedule.
The Packers are figuring it out.
All right, listen.
Love to hate it.
Okay, by the way, the Packers are playing meaningful football games.
They are.
I'll acknowledge that. They're not very good, but they are at least alive. And like I've always said, as a fan of a bad team, if you give me meaningful football games, Thanksgiving week or beyond, it's like a win for me.
Sure.
Like, I don't root for teams that win. I don't. I get it. I'm a Knicks fan.
Just expectations.
I'm a Jet fan. I'm a Fugazi Yankee fan. I don't have a single team that wins ever.
Moving on to third in football. Let's convert this one, guys. All right. Mike Tomlin spoke about who he thinks the best defensive player in football is. We'll never believe who he thinks it is.
I don't know.
What he does, the level of production. I mean, let's be honest.
Aaron Donald?
TJ is the best defensive player on the planet.
Facts.
Right now. And he proves that week in and week out with the plays that he delivers us. I get a bird's eye view of it.
Okay. Is he right?
Yeah, he's right.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it does matter.
Defensive player of the year is a thing.
We were just throwing at Michael Parsons a raft. Nobody look at his numbers right here. Sacks first, quarterback hit second, tackles for loss 6. I mean, the guy's balling. The reason why he beat the Browns was because of TJ Watt.
The only reason the Steelers are winning is because of this defense.
And led by TJ Watt. Yeah. So my point is, he's the difference. If there was an MVP on the defensive side, it's TJ Watt. Bottom line.
Can you imagine being the Watt brother that didn't make it into the NFL? Like, J.J. Watt's a first ballot Hall of Famer. TJ Watt's having this ridiculous year and career, and he's on his way towards the potential of being a Hall of Fame defensive end.
There's another one underneath him.
Yeah, but like, it's like
to his point. Who?
Oh, don't do that.
Look, what's his name? Billy?
Don't do that.
Derek Watt.
If your brothers made the NFL, no matter what degree, you take pride in it.
Yes, because it's my brother. But
Right. So my point is,
I'm not related to the Watts, and I know two of them. Two out of the three.
There's JJ, there's Derek, there's TJ. I know TJ.
All made the league.
I know JJ.
All made the league.
LeAngelo Ball made the league.
Derek's working at that Subway in the Watts backyard. That's what he's doing right now. Yeah. You want, was slicing our meats fresh?
Oh, yeah.
And I'll say this. Here's what I love about the Watt family.
Oh, they're going to say love about sliced
No,
meats.
the fact they have a Subway in their backyard is like mind-blowing, right? Who wouldn't want that? They're not attention whores like the Kelseys. That's why I love the Watts.
Oh, boy.
They're just chill. I know JJ's doing some TV stuff now, but they're not out there trying to date pop stars and doing podcasts and putting themselves in every single commercial, even for Fugazi shots in the arm and all that crap. I don't need it.
You sound
I don't
jealous.
need it.
Sound like a hater.
I don't need
Yeah,
it.
basically.
I don't need it. I don't need
You
it.
don't like celebrity?
What? I have one. I know it's
Okay, we're peacocking out here, baby. We're peacocking.
It's fourth down. Please. You have to convert.
I'm going tushy pushy.
It has been reported that Panthers owner David Tepper forced the Panthers front office to draft Bryce Young.
Yeah.
There's been reported. Well, he spoke about it.
As far as Bryce Young is concerned, I cannot say this, for myself. And I think everybody in this building would share this sentiment. We are totally confident in that pick. Okay, I think the people that made that pick first, would be totally confident in that. Some of them you could ask. Okay, and I think and for me, I'm totally confident in agreeing with that pick.
Okay. Do you believe anything he just said?
No.
Well, here's the thing, though. I get what he's saying. He's fighting, the narrative that's out there that he forced Bryce Young on Frank Reich and the organization. And Frank Reich intimated maybe he wanted C.J. Stroud. He did come out later in the press conference and say, we figured we were going to pick number 2 and that Bryce Young was going to Houston and that we would get C.J. Stroud number 2. I don't know how that would have manufactured itself, but that's what he was saying. But when you say you can go ask everybody that was in the room, I'm going to go ask everybody that was in the room. At some point, Frank Reich's going to come up for air and go, this is what happened in our war room. Now, if the guy's lying, we're quickly going to find out that the guy was lying, right? Here's the other thing he said. I know we don't have time to play all his quotes. He was there. It was a great, I don't know if someone asked the question or if he just offered it. He said, I'm the owner. I'm paraphrasing it, right? He goes, if the room's unanimous on a decision, I can still override that vote. He goes, I want to be clear about it. But in this case, I didn't. I went along with what was a unanimous decision amongst my football people to draft Bryce Young. But if I wanted to overrule it, I could have overruled it. We're going to find out in the next couple months because Frank Reich and the other guys that were in that room are going to tell you exactly what happened. That's it.
So here's the problem. If I'm still working and I'm under his checks, like if he's paying me, what he said is exactly what happened. If he's no longer paying me and I'm in
He's fired 3 people. So
I'm going to tell the truth now.
Yeah, well, look, the truth will set you free. I know Frank has intimated, and I told you when I got stranded on an island with Frank Reich, and he told me when he looked for it was Fire Island.
Okay.
That's right. Because when he gets, I don't get that. But, and he told me, I've told you guys the story before, that he wants thick-legged, thick-behind quarterbacks. Yeah. He doesn't like small, slight guys, which is why I thought always that they were going to go C.J. Stroud because he fit that bill. And when they went Bryce Young, I was like, the dude sat next to me. I might have been drunk, but he wasn't. He don't even drink. Matter of fact, I was. I started playing the drums that night. But, true story. But that being the case, it seems like C.J. Stroud fit the style of quarterback body-wise that he wanted, and Bryce Young didn't. But when the owner comes out and goes, basically, all right, intrepid reporters, I'm challenging all of you to tell me I'm lying. Everybody in that room wanted Bryce Young. Now imagine this for a second. you're Bryce Young today.
Right,
You're
yeah.
like, well, this is a bad place to be. Because there was an afterthought when he said, and by the way, we still like our pick. Yikes.
And by the way, there's footage of Josh McCown, I think it was at the draft or something, talking to C.J. Stroud, talking about, hey, we're going to pick you up here.
He said, I'll pick you in ping pong.
Yeah, right. That's what he said. I'm going to pick you up.
Listen,
So
we got lots more to do. We got mid-show headlines coming up. We got far more football, and we have a little something we call The Mountain. Who are the top 4 teams in the AFC? Who are the top 4 teams in the NFC? And you can debate at home after we do it, and it's coming next. It is now time for The Mountain. Every week, NFL teams enter the arena, sharing one lofty goal: to climb above the competition. Who will stand at the peak this week? Only one can wear the precious crown as the king of the mountain. All right. All right, right out of the gate, I know there's a lot of interest in the mountain this week, so let me tell you 3 teams that didn't make the mountain. Number 1, the Denver Broncos. I know you're winning 5 games in a row, and you're close, but you ain't mountain worthy just yet. Another team that's not mountain worthy just yet, great Green Bay Packers.
That feels personal.
We figured it out. Yeah, and the last team that's not on the mountain because they're dying a slow death in the river, the New York Jets. All right.
Already dead.
Shocker.
Already dead.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. AFC.
Here we go.
Number 4, your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Here we go!
Yeah. There you go. Pittsburgh 7-4. All right, they are right now in the playoffs as the 5 seed right now, and they're going to get in by winning ugly. They do not have a good offense.
All right.
Kenny Pickett is not an elite or top 10 quarterback, but they do have a very good defense.
Facts.
They have figured out again that the heart of that team is running the football. They finally got over that stupid arbitrary number of 400 yards of offense in a game.
It means
new
something.
Offensive coordinator, new play caller, and again, it wasn't pretty last weekend, but there's something about having a coach who also knows how to win.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, for the first time this year, are on the mountain. Let's go! There you go. All right. No, okay, that hurt.
Hey.
Bruce, like you're great. All right. Your number 3 team, you could argue this day and night, I'm sure. In Missouri, you're going to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, 3 spot though?
Now, here's the deal. Kansas City right now would play the Colts in the first round of the playoffs. They're the number 2 seed. I know their offense suddenly woke up after being down 14-0 to the Raiders. I know Rashee Rice is learning the language of Mahomes, which means get open and catch the ball when I throw it to you. I'm never going to sell them short, but we have not really seen from them that prototypical Kansas City Chief game on both sides of the ball, and going down 2 touchdowns early to the Raiders still makes me think I don't know if I can really trust them 100%. I trust Mahomes, but I have them 3rd, and they are the 2 seed right now in the AFC, which brings me to the 2nd best team right now in the AFC. I've had them at 1 earlier this year, but they haven't played in seeming like a month, it feels like to me, since they demolished my New York Jets on Black Friday, the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, okay.
Look, I don't think Tyreek Hill is right that this is a better team than that Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl team, but I know they have an offense that can score against anybody. The offense has not been great the last couple of weeks, but I don't worry about that offense as long as number 10 is healthy. The Miami Dolphins are a lock to win their division for the first time in what? Like forever. And I do think they'll have a home playoff game. They're fighting Baltimore for the number 1 seed. That's still on the table for the Miami Dolphins. And until someone points out their weaknesses on a consistent basis, that is a team that's going to be alive deep into January. Do not sleep on the Miami Dolphins, okay? The obvious number 1, bang again, the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the Ravens won a game 20-10 this past weekend. It wasn't up pretty. It wasn't their best performance. They get a late Zay Flowers touchdown to make it a double-digit win for them. But we all know what we see with this team. This is a team that has overcome losing their starting running back, overcome the loss of Mark Andrews, and they've got the most important guy on the field, number 8, Lamar Action Jackson, playing at an MVP level again. Their defense gets no love or credit, and if you guys have pointed out, that is a top 10 defense, maybe a little even better in the NFL right now. They are complete, and they're playing with house money from the standpoint of they're in first place. All these guys, they're chasing the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens right now are still, and have been for a while, at least for me, the best team in the AFC. All right, let's tell you who's not on the list for the NFC, but they're getting close. Giant fans.
Oh, DeVito!
What are you doing? Greg, what are you doing? Hey, you gotta put it on the mouth.
Don't sleep on Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants. They're not top 4 yet, but if they win the next 2 games, they're right there in striking distance for a playoff berth. And it'd be the greatest Italian comeback story, no joke, since Balboa himself against the All right, here we go.
Up there.
The number 4 the number 4 team in the NFC. Back-to-back tough games and a loss, of course, on Thanksgiving. The Detroit Lions.
Okay.
They're going to win the division. They're going to have a home playoff game. I don't think they're going to wind up really fighting for the number 1 spot, nor do they have to. It's a big win to win the division and get a home playoff game. My concern is that guy right there, Jared Goff. It's one thing when you play lousy football against the Bears, come back from a 12-point deficit in the fourth quarter, and lead your team to victory. We give you credit for that.
Sure.
But when you follow that game up with 3 more turnovers, and now you've got 6 turnovers in the last 2 games, now I got a question. What's going on at home?
What's happening?
Does somebody need to get pregnant?
Oh!
All right, so the point is, I'm a little concerned about what's up? How you doing, baby? I'm a little concerned about Jared Goff. He needs a big game, but the Detroit Lions are division winners for sure, and they're going to be a problem for somebody come the first round of the playoffs, which brings me to number 3. I got to be honest, 1, 2, and 3, well, 2 and 3 for sure. I could have swapped it in my head. I swapped it all day, driving in this morning in heavy traffic, in snow, in an Elantra, which is what I do because, it's a Sunday. In any event, your 3rd best team in the NFC. How you like them Cowboys?
Yeah,
right?
Cowboys!
And the only reason I don't have the Dallas Cowboys number 2 is because I got to be true to myself. And the fact that I have to be a football PhD, if I put them first or second, I just don't want to deal with the crap online.
What are you talking about?
Oh, my goodness.
When have you ever cared?
The Dallas Cowboys might wake up on Monday as number 1 or number 2.
Sure.
But they're not there quite yet. They've got the Thursday night game against Seattle. I think that's a trap game. If they handle Seattle and have 10 days to get ready for the Eagles, they will move up the mountain. But right now, let's keep it clean this week. They're the 3rd best team in the NFC. Which brings me to number 2. And this will show you why I don't care about the negative posts and the hatred I'm about to get on social media.
We'll see.
The 2nd best team in the NFC are your dirty
What
birds.
are you doing?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Of course.
Yeah, look, they've got the best record in football.
You can't say anything bad about it.
Huge wins back-to-back.
Here's how I'm going to point it out.
They're beating everybody.
The reason they're number 2, and I'll just announce it right now, the reason San Francisco is number 1, best team in the NFC, is really quite simple. Even uneducated people in Philadelphia can figure this out. They are playing each other head-to-head this Sunday on Fox, by the way, at 4 o'clock. All right, the game is in Philadelphia.
Whoa.
Okay? Who's favored? San Fran. They're the better team. They deserve to be favored. And that is your top 4, AFC and NFC. San Fran and Baltimore on a collision course to the Super Bowl right now.
I got you, Philly.
Thank you, Will.
Listen, the bottom line is 10-1, the best team in the NFC, the best team in football. The Niners, you got to prove it this Sunday. We see what you got. This is a correct mountain.
Okay, listen.
Sure.
You're afraid of people in Philly? I'm not. That's what we just said.
Afraid of people in Philly?
Listen, I'll take all that smoke. I'll take all of it. I think our handle's the Carton Show online, pretty much, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, say what you got to say. but explain to me while you're yelling at me why your home 10-1 Eagles are 3-point underdogs against San Francisco. Is it because they're better?
What are you willing to do when the Eagles win this game?
Don't make me get up on this chair and fight you. All right, we got much. I just saw my whole life.
Chair doesn't help. Yeah.
Makes it worse.
If you're playing head-to-head, and you're the underdog, you're viewed as a lesser team.
Philly Niners or you versus Willie?
I lose that fight all day, every day. I am not stupid.
I'll make you love me by the end of it. Yeah, it'll be fine.
I don't want that either. I've walked with a limp before. Every day. We got much more coming you out, including Brock Purdy versus Jalen Hurts. Who's got the advantage there, Philly or San Francisco? Right after this.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Carton Show. We have your early morning headlines, and we start with Tyreek Hill, who made his name as part of the Chiefs, won a Super Bowl. Now he is obviously on the Dolphins, and he compared those two teams, and here's what he had to say.
Like the way we practice, like the way we play for one another is something that I've never seen before in a team. Like, I won a Super Bowl, and I feel like this is probably the better team than when we won a Super Bowl back when I was on KC.
Okay.
Liar.
Right. What do you think about Mr. Hill's comments there?
Look, I appreciate him because he's all in for this team, right? And he's got a quarterback who really doesn't criticize as much as he used to be, but everything's compared to Patrick Mahomes. And he's got an offense right now that's going to obliterate anything the Chiefs offense did while he was there. So I appreciate it. I'm jealous of the fact they get to do talk shows at a marina in South Beach. I mean, I'm going bowling today in New York City.
Do we ever consider them as the top of the AFC along with the Chiefs?
No. Listen, I think, it's funny. When people get all caught up in, who you rank. Like, we just did the mountain, and I know what I'm going to get. How dare you not put Philly number one? Or whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter at the end of the day. The Dolphins are one of the three, I think. I take Jags out of it, but I respect their success right now. Also sitting there with the same exact record at 8-3, and they're going to win their division as well. The Dolphins are one of three AFC teams that I think we all agree could absolutely be standing tall in the Super Bowl. Like, they're there. I don't think the Steelers can. I don't think the Browns can. I don't think the Colts can. And I would not pick the Jaguars myself. I think it's a three-headed monster right now, and that's Baltimore, Kansas City, and Miami in that order. So if you told me that you have I'm making this up, a Dolphin Kansas City, a Dolphin Baltimore, AFC Championship game, absolutely, that's on the table. I'm concerned about their defense because I do know you can score big points against that defense, and I respect how much better they've been since Ramsey came back, and he's already had a couple interceptions for them. And I'm not sure how one-dimensional their running game is if Achan's not healthy and it's all Raheem Mostert. But they're as good as any team and have proven that. Very well coached and an offense that legitimately. And I don't know that there's another offense in all of football, with all due respect to all the other good teams, that no matter where you are in the field, they're a pass away from scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I think you also have to – you said something earlier, and I know you was kind of being tongue-in-cheek about it. Great leaders talk life into their ball club.
Absolutely right.
And you talk about the loss of Jordan Phillips against the Jets. You talk about Tua in that game against the Jets, throwing multiple interceptions.
Yeah.
They're at a point right now, they have never been top dog, right? Last year they weren't.
Sure.
Right? They went to Buffalo last year and lost with Skylar Thompson at quarterback.
Right.
Tua was out, right? So this is the first time they've been in a position where they control their destiny, and everybody's like, uh-oh, watch out for these guys. So right now, even with Tua healthy, the offensive performance, the defense is okay. He still realized, because he's went the distance, he has to continue to pump coal into this fire so they can be where they need to be.
Yeah, and Craig, for me, the biggest question for the Miami Dolphins is the last 3 weeks of the season, because the schedule doesn't let up. Right? If you guys want to even put that up there. The last 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure, there you go. It's the Dallas Cowboys, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. And there's a chance they don't have everything wrapped up and their seeding wrapped up prior to that game against the Bills. And by the way, the Bills, in theory, could need that game to get in as a wild card. In theory. Right. So when you look at them and you start comparing the Dolphins' schedule to some of the other AFC teams, I'll give you the fact that Washington shouldn't be a problem for them. The Titans shouldn't be a problem for them. I'll acknowledge the New York Jets are not a problem for them, as much as that pains me to say. But the last 3 weeks are a problem for them.
So we talk about the Dallas Cowboys and who they haven't beaten and the teams that they have beaten, like their records and how they are not 500 teams or above 500 teams. When you look at the Dolphins' resume this year, you can very well say the same thing.
You can. You
should. And you talk about, you highlighted those last 3 games of the season. To me, this is where I start to question the Dolphins and the style in which they play. Can they score? Absolutely. But when they have to go up against a team that plays a different style and a brand of football where they punch you in the mouth, I think it's about matchups when I look at the Dolphins going into the postseason. You say the Steelers can't do it. But if the Dolphins match up with the Steelers, they play a brand of football that the Dolphins truly don't play. And they will punch you. They will make it nasty. They will force you to be something that you're not. I don't know if the Dolphins can impose who they are on the game and dictate terms of how you play.
Well,
That's my concern about the Dolphins.
When you look at the Dolphins, and you can take the Jet game and throw it in the trash, but when you look at the game against Kansas City, when you look at the loss against Buffalo, there is a bit of a blueprint to slowing the offense down. Like, they were held scoreless for a half against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs aren't regarded right now as having the greatest
tape twice. You got Buffalo game, Chiefs game.
That being said, I think they'll beat up on the bad teams, as they should. But it's a great comparison because the Dallas Cowboys don't have a single win against a team right now that's over 500. And if they beat Seattle tomorrow night, that'll stay because they'll be 500. Same with the Dolphins.
Same with the Dolphins.
They don't have a single win against a team over 500.
The variance of the Dolphins, they had like the lowest floor and the highest ceilings of all teams in the AFC. Like when you mentioned them beating the Chiefs, the Ravens, and being in the AFC Championship, I'm like, I could see that happening. When you mentioned them losing to the Steelers, I'm like, I could also see that happening. That's where they are. So, second headline.
The Steelers stink. What are we talking
Yesterday was Tuesday, which means Jerry Jones was on the radio saying things, and he's saying things about his quarterback, Dak Prescott. Let's check in with Dallas Cowboys owner.
I can definitively say this is the best I've seen him play. I think that I would give Mike McCarthy a lot of credit here. They've stayed consistent with the changes and what he's trying to do offensively. That's paying off. That's what's working out there is what they've been working on.
Is this the best Dak Prescott has ever played, Craig?
No, and I don't think it matters. Like, you want to talk about the Jason Garrett-led Dallas Cowboys where Dak Prescott threw for 4,500 yards, had 37 touchdowns, only 10 picks. That was pretty good football. He's playing really good football, though. I'm not going to knock. I don't know if it's the greatest he's ever played, but he's definitely in his own. He's in a rhythm right now, and that Cowboy offense is scoring at will. But if we're going to bring it up with Miami, we got to bring it up with these guys, too. Those numbers are stupid.
Why?
If you put, in a good way.
Okay.
You put those numbers. Like, it's stupid. Like, 20 touchdowns, street lingo, man. That's stupid good. 20 touchdowns, 2 picks. Like, what?
Yeah.
Right? That's not Dak Prescott, the guy who led the league in interceptions last year. But it's always against bad teams, which is why you talk to Dallas fans, the Eagle loss was the best game of the year from a standpoint of Dak Prescott playing well on the road in a big spot.
Agreed.
Now, he's going to have to do it a couple more times because your schedule dictates you got some bad man pajamas coming your way. And if he plays the way he played against Philly and the way he played against the Rams, the Chargers, the last 4 games, then all of a sudden the Dallas Cowboys are exactly what the owner said they were back in August, and that's a Super Bowl contender. Remember, Jerry Jones said the most honest thing he has ever said about the Cowboys in August. He said, in my 30-whatever years of owning the Dallas Cowboys, truthfully, there have only been 4 or 5 teams I felt in my heart were good enough to win a Super Bowl, and this is one of them. And you're seeing that right now. They're beating teams down.
Yeah, like the bottom line is, if you go back to the Commanders game, and I know our head producer Zach hates us to describe things without having footage, but if you go back, Dak is in the pocket with his back against the end zone. He throws a dime to Ferguson in between, throws it over the head of a linebacker in between the safety. I mean, an absolute dime. And what that showed you is just the confidence in which he's throwing the ball. I talked about it earlier, going 20 for 30 on deep passes, right? Yeah. 565 yards, no interceptions, 6 touchdowns. The guy's confidence through the roof, and largely because 1, he's using his legs, 2, he trusts the weapons out there, and Mike McCarthy's calling a hell of a game, right? We don't give Mike McCarthy enough.
He gets
so
no
much
credit.
talked about at the beginning of the season was Mike McCarthy going to be able maybe to kind of overshadow what Kellen Moore did. Mike McCarthy owns this offense right along Dak Prescott, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that.
Look, you played for Mike, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike McCarthy, I've said on this show a million times, because of how he looks. And I think that's what it is. People don't treat him with the same respect they treat guys like Sean Payton. That's a hell of a football coach right there. And he's proving it again. He had one bad year in Dallas when he first got there. Yeah. Absolutely, that's fair testament of his career in Dallas. And since then, 12 wins. They might win 13 this year. He's a damn good coach. And it's not a surprise that you have a quarterback playing possibly his best football of his career, and that correlates to who's essentially running the offense. Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, what's interesting about the whole thing with Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys, as well as Dak, we grade him and Dak based on what they do in the postseason. Because when we look at the regular season, you can line Mike McCarthy's resume up with anybody. Yeah. And he's going to win you games. It's the postseason that matters. He has won Super Bowl in Green Bay, historic franchise, had a lot of winning seasons, had the one Super Bowl to show forth. In Dallas, that is why he was brought. Yep. That is the reason why Jerry Jones brought Mike McCarthy there, is to get them over that hump that they cannot get over in the postseason. Mike McCarthy, he mentioned it in his first press conference. I got Mike McCarthy here because he's been there. Right. He's won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes. And so for me, when I look at the success that they're having right now, it's a large credit to what Mike McCarthy has been able to do with Dak and this offense and the evolution of it. But more importantly, it's gonna have to show up in the postseason.
Now, I'll tell you what, I will learn a lot about the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night. They're 9-point favorites. They should blow Seattle out. Really good teams have had no problem with Seattle in the last couple of weeks. But it is a trap game for those of you that don't pay attention to that. What do I mean by a trap game? You've got a huge game coming up, a divisional rival in the Philadelphia Eagles. You just played a divisional rival in Washington, and the team you're playing against is off a loss. And oh, by the way, you're in your building. Now, they should win. They should win by double digits. But if you believe in the concept of a trap game, this is it. If the Cowboys smoke Seattle like they're capable of, then I'm sorry, everybody's on notice before they play the Eagles for the second time.
Final headline of the day. This play you're watching right here, that is Hassan Reddick injuring Brock Purdy and changing the complexion of the NFC Championship game. Well, guess what? 4 p.m. on Sunday on Fox. There will be a rematch of these two teams, the two best teams in the NFC. And Deebo Samuel of the Niners spoke about Brock Purdy and the pressure that's on him, and here's what he had to say.
Brock is probably one of the calmest players that I've been around, actually. Like, not no rah-rah, like no yelling, like none of that. Because after the game, or we had like a practice yesterday or anything, like, he ain't said nothing about, bro, this is the game that I heard this, or this is the game, like, we didn't get to do this, that, and the third. You don't hear nothing like that from him.
So based on the fact that they lost last year, based on the fact they had a 3-game losing streak this year.
They didn't really lose last year.
Is there pressure on Brock Purdy to win on Sunday?
I mean, there's pressure on all of them, right? Deebo didn't win last year against the Eagles, right? George Kittle didn't win last year. Bosa didn't win last year. There's pressure on all of them. This is the defining game of the season. The winner of this game, for my money, is going to be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. I think that's how important this game is. The loser is going to be the number 2 seed and have to travel in the NFC Championship game to either Philly or San Francisco. But the notion that all the pressure's on Purdy is just not, it's not, I know you're asking, the answer is no. The pressure on Purdy was a year ago. You're an unproven rookie quarterback, the last guy drafted. You win 8 consecutive games, whatever it was at the time, and now you're in a playoff game against Seattle, and you're losing at halftime, 17-16. And you come out in the second half and blow the doors off the Seattle Seahawks. What I love about this matchup is that San Fran didn't lose last year in the NFC Championship game on merit. And for the guys that I know well, who are former professional athletes, that's something that burns you for life. Because it's one thing to lose when you're at 100% and you have to tip your cap because the guys on the other side of the field just had your number that day. In my experience, guys like you can live with that. It sucks. It takes a while to get over it, but you can respect the fact that on that given day, a cornerback had the best of you. Defensive end got you, right? But when you go into a game like that gives you a chance to go play for a championship, and you literally play the game without a quarterback, that's not hyperbole, that happened. That's the one you can't live with,
yeah,
right?
but prior to that, we got the graphic to show you. Jalen Hurts is playing out of his mind, and he's playing better than Brock Purdy. You talk about the numbers right here, 29 to 21 touchdowns, turnovers. Obviously, Jalen Hurts got to do better in that category. But when you talk about games, we said it about Dak going against Purdy, the matchup matters. Certain games define you. This game will define Brock Purdy because he has to go back in this building and try to defeat the Eagles. And let's be honest, and let's just say the Niners lose to the Eagles, right, which I hope. At the end of the day, they're going to have to see each other again down the road.
Probably.
And how you finish, how you play, especially with the game down ahead, matters because you want the confidence. Say, hey, we went to this team's hometown and we beat them. That hasn't happened yet. So the Niners need this game in the worst way because that's another worthy outcome.
Well, look, if the Niners lose this game, they can't be the number 1 seed. You're right. So this ends their trek to be number 1. The best they can be is the 2 seed, and then you got to play 3 playoff games to get to a Super Bowl. But those numbers, I wouldn't tell you if that was blind that Jalen Hurts has outplayed Brock Purdy.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
I mean, we have opinions. You have yours, I have mine.
Yeah, I mean, one loss.
I mean, you were trying to
The point of that is, if Jalen Hurts is a legitimate MVP candidate, we all agree he is, then Brock Purdy is too. Because other than rushing yards, those numbers are dead on even across the board. I mean, just look like, percentage-wise, a little edge to Purdy, but pretty close. I'm not going to say it's that big. Passing yards, they're right there. Touchdowns, yes, Hurts is more, but he also has almost double the amount of turnovers. So I can't wait for it. It all starts tomorrow night with Dallas and Seattle. It's going to be great.